Hello, and welcome to the Yankees Seasons Podcast, Episode 12, Double Trouble. Last time our pinstriped Warriors, nickname pending, took on the Kansas City Athletics and took 2 out of 3 games in an exciting fashion in the Bronx. Then, with his article in the May 6th edition of Parade magazine, Mickey Mantle proved that the pen is truly mightier than the bat. On the field, the White Sox would square off for 2 against the Yankees in a Sunday doubleheader that would feature Stengel's chairman of the board, Whitey Ford, on the mound for the Yankees in Game 1. The series would be the first-time meeting of 1956 for the Yankees and the White Sox, the team seen as one of their current second-place teams fighting to take the top spot from the current American League leaders. For the Yankees this season thus far, the Red Sox were the other team seen as the main contenders for the top spot, and they took 4 out of 5 games from the Sox, from Boston, when they played earlier. Now they have their sights on the Sox from Chicago. Funny enough, the lineup facing Whitey that afternoon in the first game of the doubleheader would feature more future Hall of Famers on the Sox than the Yankees. Second baseman Nellie Fox, third baseman George Kell, and left fielder Minnie Minoso were the first 3 in the lineup, and all of them are now Hall of Famers. Batting fourth was right fielder Bob Neiman, and then future Hall of Famer Larry Doby bat fifth and played center field. Walt Dropo, who had won Rookie of the Year in 1950 with Boston, bat sixth and played first base, with Sherm Lawler catching, and the fifth future Hall of Famer Luis Aparicio batting eighth and playing shortstop. Taking the mound for the White Sox in Game 1 of the doubleheader would be Jack Harshman, a player who established himself with the White Sox a couple years prior, going 14-8 during the 1948 season with a 2.95 ERA. For the hometown Yankees, all of our early favorites would be featured. Bauer, Barton, Mantle, Barras, Gowron, and McDougald all settling into their established 1 through 6, and Andy Carey would take up his usual spot in the hot corner, third base, and batting eighth. The one tweak to the lineup for Game 1 sees Casey adjusting and having Elston Howard occupy left field and bat seventh. Howard had pinch hit a few times in the series against Kansas City with multiple hits in those opportunities, so it's refreshing to see Stengel give Howard the starting nod. On the mound, Whitey Ford fell right into his usual form, having Nellie Fox strike out looking, and then using his off-speed curveball or slider to get Kell and Minoso to each ground out. Quick work of those future Hall of Famers, and that puts the bat into the Yankees' hands for the first time. Hank Bauer would fly out to left, but Billy Martin placed a pitch-perfect bunt down the third baseline and reached easily, which brought up Mickey Mantle, who had just had a fantastic series against the Athletics of Kansas City. Facing off against Jack Harshman that Sunday afternoon, Mantle started his doubleheader by connecting with the ball for a double, that when the throw came into second to try and beat Mantle, it went well wide. Martin was able to score on the unearned run, and Mantle was able to advance to third, where he would eventually be stranded, but only after giving the Yankees yet another first-inning lead here in 1956. Meanwhile, it wasn't just Mantle that was continuing his reign of dominance. Ford grounded out Bob Neiman to McDougald at short for the first easy out, then struck out Larry Doby swinging before giving up the first hit of the afternoon to Walt Dropo. However, Ford wasn't going to just let a base runner on, at least not yet. During Sherm Lawler's at-bat, Ford quickly snapped a throw over to Skowron at first and caught Dropo out, and successfully picked him off to end the inning. Then, just to continue this display, in the bottom half of the second with 2 outs and after Andy Carey singled, Whitey shot a line drive to the left and center field gap that meant Carey was able to run all the way to third. Martin would fly out to center fielder Larry Doby to end the inning, but Ford showed he wasn't just working it from the mound, but had just as much capability with the bat as well. 2 singles were hit in the top of the third, but Ford would leave them stranded to bring the Yankees back up, and Mickey Mantle was not done bringing his average up yet. He hit the ball back up past the pitcher to beat out the infield single, and once again, finding himself in a position to set the table for Yogi. Berra would await the pitch from Harshman. Here it comes, and there it goes. Again, a deep fly ball that soared over the right field wall for a 2-run home run, his 8th of the season already. 3-0, and Skowron wasn't trying to stop. He would crush a ball to deep right field as well, this one staying inside the ballpark, though, for a double. McDougald and Elston Howard would both record outs, but Carey was intentionally walked to bring up Whitey Ford again. This time, though, he would pop out to deep infield, where second baseman Nellie Fox showed off his speed to be able to track it down for the final out of the third inning. For the White Sox half of the fourth, Minoso would single but then be the first out of the double play started by the next batter, Bob Neiman. Larry Doby, now with 2 outs, hit a single of his own, and Walt Dropo was able to work a walk before it would all come to naught when Sherm Lawler grounded into a force out at second to bring the Yankees up for the bottom half of the fourth. Jack Harshman would only make it 2 pitches into the inning, where with 1 ball on the count, Hank Bauer hit his own home run, this time to left field, his 6th of the year and his 15th RBI. Other than some singles here and there, an Elston Howard ground rule double, that Bauer home run was the last true drama of the first game of the doubleheader, and the Yankees would win the game 4-0. Whitey Ford not only threw a complete game shutout, taking his ERA to just .75. His last out of the game would be striking out Luis Aparicio. The chairman of the board had a very successful day, his 4th win of the season, and he could enjoy the rest of his day, while the Yankee hitters had work to attend to later that evening when they would face off against Harry Bird. 3 other White Sox changes were made to the lineup despite the pitcher. Jim Rivera was brought in to play right field and bat leadoff. Earl Beatty behind the plate catching and batting 6th, and Sammy Esposito would play third base. Casey Stengel, on the other hand, would make very few changes, even leaving Yogi Berra at the catcher spot, a signature move for Yogi in playing both games of the doubleheader. The man was something else. Let me put even just this Sunday, May the 6th, into perspective for how much of a beast Yogi was. Sunday was the day of doubleheaders. The Yankees and the White Sox were not the only teams having doubleheaders that day. The Tigers and the Orioles would play 2, the Pirates and Cubs played each other twice, same with the Philadelphia Phillies facing off against the Cincinnati Redlegs, the Giants playing 2 against the Cardinals, and the Athletics would play 2 against the Senators. 12 of the 16 teams in the major leagues played doubleheaders against each other on May 6th. The only catchers that would see action in both games. Cubs catcher Javi Landreth played both games but was pulled out during a defensive shift, so not even during a pinch hit. It was while the Cubs were on the field in the 5th inning. Phillies catcher Andy Seminick and Joe Lonnett would be platooned in both games, so each of them saw limited action in both games. And Tim Thompson, catcher for the Athletics, would play game 1 of the doubleheader, and then in the 7th inning, after hitting a double, be pinch ran for and taken out of the game. Those were the only other ones, besides Yogi, that saw any action in both games. So no one, not a single catcher, and this is across the entire majors, played both games of the doubleheader all the way through, except for Yogi. 24-year-old Rip Coleman would get the nod from Stengel for game 2 of the doubleheader. The 1956 rookie had made his debut the prior August to limited success, a 2-1 record, but a 5.28 ERA over 29 innings. That late Sunday afternoon, however, Coleman brought something else to the mound. Right fielder Jim Rivera and Nellie Fox both grounded out for the first 2 outs of the game, and Minnie Minoso would fly out to Andy Carey to end the inning. Mantle would not be able to start the game with a base hit again as he walked with 2 outs before Yogi grounded out to the shortstop, who took the force out himself at second. Coleman would give up a leadoff single to George Kell and then walk Larry Doby, but regained composure to ground Earl Beatty into a double play and then strand Kell at third base when Esposito flew out to Mickey Mantle. That brought Moose Skowron to the plate, leading off, which he would get a rally started by doubling to deep center. Gil McDougald then sliced the ball down the right field line, but fair ball. Skowron scored easily, and McDougald hustled it out for an RBI triple. Elston Howard now joined the party by singling to left field and scoring McDougald. 2-0 Yankees, but Howard would be left on base. The White Sox would go 3 up, 3 down in the 3rd, but with a 2-out single to right, Yogi Berra would then score when Bill Skowron hit the ball to third baseman Sammy Esposito, who was charged with an error on his throw, which meant Yogi took off from third toward home and Skowron shot off to third when the throw to the plate was completely mishandled by Earl Beatty, the catcher, and Yogi was able to score on the error. So 2 errors on the play, Esposito at third, and the new rested catcher, Earl Beatty, he just committed the error at the plate that scored the catcher who has played the last 6 games in 5 days straight. Interesting. Either way, 2 errors charged on the same play is always going to hurt a ball club, and the score is now 3-0 Yankees. Rip Coleman, however, continued to impress, having an easy 4th inning and then giving himself 2 runners in the 2nd just to put away the next 3 batters. The first 2 of which being strikeouts on Luis Aparicio and then Bob Kennedy pinch hitting for the pitcher Harry Bird. And then the 3rd out was Jim Rivera grounding the ball right back to Coleman, who was able to throw him out at first without committing an error, I'll add, to end the inning. The 6th inning started the same way most had for Coleman. He let 2 base runners get on, then he started recording some outs. Nellie Fox would single up the middle and Minnie Minoso walked. George Kell then flew out to Mantle. Larry Doby would walk, the bases loaded, and then Sherm Lawler came on for Earl Beatty to pinch hit an infield pop fly to McDougald at short. Finally, for his last batter of the game, Rip Coleman hurled the ball to Yogi behind the plate, but Walt Dropo connected with it before Yogi had the chance to grab it. Luckily, Hank Bauer was there to put it away for the final out of the sixth. Jim Constanti would be brought in Coleman's place, and he took a page right out of Coleman's book. Cal Abrams and Ron Northey, both brought in to pinch hit, reached base, and now with no outs, Constanti had runners on first and second. According to Coleman's performance, this is when Constanti would, or should, get some outs. Gil McDougald would be put to the test. 2 consecutive pop flies were hit to him, and then Minnie Minoso grounded the ball to him where he took the force out at second. Still 3-0 with the Yankees in the lead. After the Yankees went 1-2-3 in the bottom of the 7th, Jim Constanti again put some pressure on himself, this time with 2 outs. Sherm Lawler tripled to left field, and then Walt Dropo worked a walk. Ron Jackson would be brought in to pinch run for Dropo, and he would take the stolen second base easily. Runners on second and third with 2 outs. Constanti bore down and struck out Cal Abrams to end the inning. Pitcher Dixie Howell would start the bottom of the 8th by walking Mantle, and then after recording 2 outs, McDougald would hit a single to left field, and Mantle on first, seeing a base hit leave the infield, made it his prerogative to score from first, and so he would. McDougald would have an RBI single, and Mantle would take the Yankees to a familiar 4-0 lead. It must have gassed him, though, because Joe Collins came on to play center field for the final 3 outs of the game. Starting the top of the 9th, Jim Bridewesser doubled to immediately put, even if only slightly, pressure onto Constanti, who handled it like a champ, having Jim Rivera, Nellie Fox, and then Dick Donovan pinch hitting for the pitcher Dixie Howell all pop out or fly out to end the game. The Yankees took a fantastic Sunday afternoon doubleheader clean sweep of a team that at the beginning of the day was in second place with some games in hand, to now a meager 4th place, and that's still with a couple games in hand. But after showing their absolute handling of the White Sox and their prior handling of the Red Sox, taking those 4 out of the 5 games, the Yankees now set their sights on the Cleveland Indians after their day off the next day, Monday. After their doubleheaders on that Sunday, the Yankees were scattered throughout the early leaderboards. In home runs, Wally Post and Mickey Mantle held their tie at 9 apiece, while Yogi and Hank Bauer also made the list with 8 and 6, marking and tying the next 2 most homers. In runs batted in, it was Mantle and Berra's the 1-2 punch with 23 and 22 RBI respectively. Runs, again, it was Mantle that led the majors with 21, and then after Yost on the Senators with 17, it was Bauer and Berra again, this time tied with 16 runs apiece. In total hits, Boyer of the Cardinals tied Mickey with 28 hits. Berra would be the only other Yankee featured with 24. And finally, last but not least, let's not forget our pitchers. Whitey Ford led the majors with his 4 wins, and overall I hope that illuminates that Mantle and Berra came out to a scorching red-hot start, but that it was paired with Hank Bauer having an impressive start himself. Moose Skowron had a really hot start, and Whitey Ford continuing his masterclass in the majors, giving up only 3 runs and now 36 innings pitched. And while the pitching may have their fair share of bad days, so far at least their offense has been there to pick them up. The Yankees also announced that they optioned Jerry Lumpy to Richmond in the International League, after although batting .270, he had committed 7 errors in the first 9 games. The defense would need to be tight, as the Cleveland team that would be the next opponents in the Bronx are set to show that they are still contenders for the pennant, and the Yankees aren't about to just run away with it all summer. Before that 3-game set, though, the Yankees will take an off day after a long stretch of games there to end April and start May. Tuesday, May 8th is when the series between the Indians and Yankees will kick off, and that's where we will start next time. But until then, thanks for listening, and see you next time.